All right, thank you all for being here with us. We will get started now as we are at 3 o'clock on the dot. Thank you for being here. My name is Christina Burton. I am the Associate Director of Graduate Admissions Operations for Penn Engineering. And so my team that includes 3 enrollment specialists are the ones that are processing all of your many applications coming in. So we look forward to seeing some of you on campus in the future. We have a great agenda here for you. You'll meet several of our faculty, 4 different faculty who will speak about their different master's programs that have deadlines that are approaching for February 1. But before we get started, I'd like to ask everyone to please put themselves on mute unless you are speaking. So please mute yourself now because this is a recorded session. This session will be recorded and then uploaded to our Graduate Admissions YouTube channel. So if at any time you need to step away or you miss some things that were discussed, you can feel free to reference the recording on the Graduate Admissions YouTube page to get a refresher on everything that's discussed. So again, we're going to go through speaking to some of our faculty listed here. We have faculty for the Computer Graphics and Game Technology. The program director is Dr. Stephen Lane. We'll then hear from the director for the Robotics Master's Program, which is Dr. Hsieh. And then finally, we'll hear from Dr. Rakesh Vohra, who will speak about the Master's Program in Systems Engineering. So let me just start us off by just giving everyone a brief overview of the University of Pennsylvania and in particular, the School of Engineering. So I just wanted to, I know you guys can't be with us in person. All of us are working remotely at the moment, but I just wanted to give you a glimpse of our beautiful campus. So pictured here is the Perlman Quad and Houston Hall. Houston Hall is actually the first student union building in the nation. So we're really proud of that. And it just represents the beautiful architecture that is the University of Pennsylvania. We are centrally located right in the middle of West Philadelphia. And I think that our architecture really well reflects the great history that is representative of our city. You can also see here, this is a very vibrant, beautiful photo that was taken, I believe, a couple of fall seasons ago, but it's beautiful nonetheless. And I like to show it because it is right in the middle of our campus. This is Locust Walk. It is almost the main vein of the university. This is where we connect a lot of the different schools. So the University of Pennsylvania has 12 different schools where we offer both undergraduate and graduate level coursework and programs. And so this picture here that you're seeing is Locust Walk, which basically takes you throughout the entire campus in the middle of West Philadelphia. So we are a very large university. However, we give people the opportunity to connect across schools and across interest areas. So Penn is a great place to be. And excuse me if I do pause at times, we have people that are still entering. So I just want to make sure that those people get permission to join us. All right, so let's think about Penn Engineering in particular. We do have 16 master's programs and 6 doctoral programs. As I mentioned earlier, you'll hear from 3 of our very popular master's programs today. We also have 13 research centers and institutions, and we have a pretty good ratio of full-time faculty to full-time students, enabling you to have an experience where you're able to build great partnerships among students as well as faculty. We also have a very large research expenditure, which we're very proud of because it allows our students the opportunity to fully engage in research, both on campus and with some of our partners. So here's a listing of our different master's programs. I mentioned that we have 16. We currently have 1 fully online master's program, which is the Computer and Information Technology program. You will likely hear from some of the other programs in a future session we'll hold for those programs that have a March 15th deadline. Okay, and we have 6 doctoral programs listed here for bioengineering, computer and information science, chemical and biomolecular engineering, electrical and systems engineering, material science, and mechanical engineering and applied mechanics. If you have any interest in our doctoral programs, please pay attention and subscribe to our YouTube channel because we often have different talks and webinars where we feature faculty who are looking to bring on new PhD students. Unfortunately, our PhD programs all had applications that were due in mid-December. So if you're looking to perhaps consider a doctoral program in the future, keep note that the deadline is usually December 15th. All right, I'm just going to pause to allow a few more people to be admitted. We have about 17 more people joining us now. We're so happy to have you all here, and we're so eager to talk to you about our program offerings. We're glad that you're considering Penn Engineering. So if you're just joining us, my name is Christina Burton. I'm Associate Director of Graduate Admissions Operations, and I'm just going through some basic information about Penn Engineering before you hear from our faculty. So featured here, this is basically the main campus of Penn Engineering. This is the complex that comprises 4 major buildings where students are taking classes, where they're conducting research, where they're socializing. And so this complex contains the Moore Building, Skirkanich Hall, Levine Hall, and Town Building. So those 4 buildings make up this engineering complex. There are other engineering buildings that I'll try to review, some really popular ones after this. But these are some of the buildings where you guys, if you join us, will be taking courses. Also, within this complex, you will find ENIAC, which is the first example of the modern computer, which was built here at the University of Pennsylvania. All right, so I mentioned that I would just go through, we have so much to offer at Penn. We're over 3 acres, I believe, of campus in the middle of Philadelphia, but I am just going to review some of our newest centers and laboratories that may be of interest to you all. So right here, we have the Singh Center of Nanotechnology. As you see, it is a beautiful building. It was recently built. And so we have students doing research out of here as well as faculty. And actually we allow people who are outside of the university. So people who perhaps attend school at Drexel University or other local institutions sometimes get permission to do research out of here. We also have government agencies doing research out of this beautiful building. And so the areas of research are focused in 6 different areas, and they include nanophotonics, mechanics, microfluidics, nanomaterials, biological applications, and microsystems. So when you are on campus, when everything opens finally, I do encourage you, if you happen to do a tour here, that you definitely want to look into this beautiful Singh Center. All right, another laboratory that I'd like to point out to you all. This here is the Penn Innovation Center, and it's located just off of campus near the Schuylkill River. So if you guys are familiar with Philadelphia, then you will be familiar with that area. And so the Penn Innovation Center contains 2 floors of co-working space. They have wet and dry labs, and the 3rd floor is completely occupied by the Penn Engineering Research and Collaboration Hub. And we have one of the professors, Dr. Hsieh, who is on this call, and she'll be speaking to you a little bit later on about some of the research that happens out of this center. And the research basically integrates studies in computer science, electrical, mechanical, and systems engineering. All right. And so I want you to just take a few moments to review these deadlines that are listed. So we still do have master's applications open. So if you are considering one of the programs that are going to be discussed today, for example, computer graphics and game technology, as well as robotics and systems engineering, they have final deadlines for this year of February 1. If you're interested in any of our other programs, which will be featured, as I mentioned previously, in one of our future sessions, the deadline is March 15th. And I see here that a lot of people are utilizing the chat feature. Thank you for doing that. We will have time to actually answer some of your questions live. So you can feel free to insert some of your questions in the chat, or you're open to, if you're brave enough, we would love to see your faces and talk with you directly. So now I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Stephen Lane, who is the Program Director for Computer Graphics and Game Technology.
Okay, thank you, Christina. Let me share my screen, and then I will go through the presentation. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see these slides. Is that, yeah? Shake your head. Good, very good. All right, so I'm the director of the program in computer graphics and game technology. We call it CGGT. And if you don't know, University of Pennsylvania was founded by Benjamin Franklin, and this is a sort of a little representation of him that was done by one of the students. So today I'm going to talk about the program, and the program at Penn in terms of computer graphics spans both undergraduate and graduate levels. So At the undergraduate level, we have a program called Digital Media Design, and this is an interdisciplinary program which combines courses in computer science and fine arts and other schools at the university. The program that I direct is the Computer Graphics and Game Technology Master's Program. And then we also have at the PhD level, we have a program which is housed in the SIG Lab, or part of the Center for Human Modeling and Simulation. So collectively, we call these programs CG at Penn, Computer Graphics at Penn. And if you were to go to the website, CG at Penn website, you can see some of the current research that's going on in terms of deformation and fluid simulation, as well as a lot of the different student projects. So there's a lot of interesting things visually that you can check out there. Okay, so moving on. In terms of the program, the master's program, CGGT, it's interdisciplinary, and it's intended to basically accommodate students have interests both in terms of computer graphics and animation, and also the sort of the creative side too. So when I think about the curriculum and I think about the types of work people do, on one side of the creative spectrum, we have artists and animators, people that might work at companies like Disney and Pixar. And then on the other side, we just have maybe hardcore researchers and systems programmers. And in the middle, there are people who have to span both sides, okay? So sometimes they might be called technical directors if you're at an animation studio, or if you're in a game company, they might be called technical animators. Game designers are in the center of the creative spectrum. And then there are tool developers, people who take technology and package it for creative people to use. And so this is the sweet spot of the program, the Computer Graphics and Game Technology Master's Program. We basically try to look under the hood and see how a lot of these special effects and how games are developed, but we're also focused on how people can use the technology too. And that involves tool design and other related things. So who's this program for? So if you're interested in working at an animation studio or game company or special effects shop, it's a great program. Also, as things have evolved, people who are interested in VR, virtual reality, or AR, augmented reality, or actually healthcare and medical devices that have some kind of graphical components, it's a great program. It's intended for recent graduates, people coming straight out of school. And we have had people who have worked in industry and they decided they didn't really like what they were doing, and they decided to come back to school. So we can accommodate both. In order to be admitted to the program, you need a computer science degree or an engineering degree in a field like electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, where you've taken some computer science courses. If you don't have those kinds of degrees, there is a path in through the MCIT master's program, Masters in Computer and Info Technology, which is intended for non-technical majors, and you can pursue a dual degree where you do that your first year and then your second year in the CGGT program. In terms of the past year, this is kind of an odd year. We have about 50 students at the master's level. First year students about 10, although there were a number more admitted, but they deferred because of COVID. Usually it's about 25, 26 in a class. And then we have undergraduates, they're called submatriculants, who do a fifth year in the program. So we have about 13 of them. The program's been around since 2004, and we have over 300 alumni that work in industry everywhere from Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks to Intel, Facebook, Google. They're all over, and they're at this point now at senior positions in these companies. In terms of the curriculum, it's a 10-course master's program. Students typically take 3 or 4 semesters, about, I guess these days, about a third finish in 3 semesters and the remainder in 4. Students usually take 3 courses a semester. And there's different ways you can slice and dice it. Some students are more interested in the creative side. Some students are more interested in the technical side, and there are also some students that are interested in the business side. And so since it's an interdisciplinary program, it can accommodate all of them. In terms of tracks, it's not a sort of rigorous thing, but there's students that are interested in games, students that are interested in animation, and there's students that are interested in research. And so there's a master's thesis option. In terms of the breakdown of the courses, there's 5 required courses, 1 graphics elective, 1 business and entrepreneurship course required, technical elective, and a free elective. And then there's the sort of the project-based course, we call it the game design practicum, or if you're more interested in research, you could do a master's thesis. So the graphics courses, I'm going to go through this quickly, but just to give you a feel for, what students are taking. So these are computer science courses. So, they're fairly technical, mathematically based, and a lot of the assignments are in C++. But there's a computer graphics course, intro to computer graphics, a computer animation course, and an advanced graphics and animation course where you build an authoring tool and we read the SIGGRAPH research papers, which are basically the state of the art in the field. You're required to take a math related course. And we have a lot of physically based courses, physically based rendering, physically based animation, computer vision, machine perception, basically something that's going to push you into some mathematics that you're not familiar with. There's a creative arts and design course that's required. Usually students take that their first semester, a 3D modeling course in the fine arts department. Then in terms of the graphics electives, depending on if you're more creative or technically oriented, you can take courses like GPU programming, those physically based rendering and animation courses I was talking about. We have procedural graphics and other special topics courses like crowd simulation. And if you're more on the creative side, you can take courses in cinematography or visual narrative or cinema production. So a lot of flexibility there. The business and entrepreneurship course is required. There's a course that's required there. We want you to understand the business that you're getting into, whether it be a large company or a startup. And so there's usually 2 courses that students select, either an engineering entrepreneurship course or a product design course. But there are other courses that you can take to satisfy this requirement. A lot of these are in Wharton. Wharton's the business school here at Penn. And so you have the opportunity to take a course there if you want. Technical electives are basically anything that's offered in the engineering school at the graduate level. And here's a list of some of them. And free elective is basically any graduate level course offered at the university that relates in some way to graphics, animation, or games. And there's a lot of flexibility there. So just moving forward, the typical course sequence, like I was saying, 3 courses a semester. People start off with the graphics and animation course and the 3D modeling course in their first semester. Their second semester, they take the advanced graphics, and then they have a lot of flexibility in terms of how they want to slice and dice and schedule their electives. Okay, so by the time students graduate, they basically, through the way the curriculum is structured, have an opportunity to take almost all the graphics courses that we offer here at Penn, which is somewhere around 6 or 7. So the hub, the center of computer graphics at Penn is in the SIG lab, or Human Centered Modeling and Simulation. And it's been around for a long time. Professor Norman Badler founded it in 1975. He's kind of the father of human simulation. And we have faculty from many different schools. And this is basically focused on PhD research. And then if you go to that CG at Penn site, you can see a lot of the exciting things that are going on there in the SIG lab. And also in the SIG lab, this is a picture. We have motion capture studio. So when you're doing projects, whether it be a computer animation project or it be game project, you have the ability to capture some of the motions for whatever you're implementing. In terms of some selected work, so here's just a video of some work of students. So that most of this is course-related work as opposed to independent projects. And they span the gamut. Some of them are physically based, some of it's rendering, as you'll see, some of it's authoring tool based. So, and the thing to keep in mind here is that everything you're seeing, the students have written the code. Okay, so this isn't something that is an authoring tool that somebody's using. They're actually gone in what's equivalent to under the hood, and they're implementing this stuff from scratch in C++. So this is, these are ways of doing something called global illumination, basically taking into account how light bounces through the environment. All kinds of, I'm just going to skip forward. So not only do they implement the rendering algorithms, but they also, through the GPU course, now have an understanding of how to accelerate it on the GPU. So this is, again, all this is written by students and rendered. Nothing is, these are not photographs. All right. So a couple other things, and just I know we're short on time. As part of the game design practicum, students develop games, and in this case, they're not necessarily writing the engines. They're focused on the content side. So there are a whole bunch of games students have created over the course of the semester, and usually as part of that project, the projects, I asked them to create a trailer that is like a 1-minute trailer that shows off their game. So here's just one. The game was called Go Go Zombies. So this game was developed in the using the Unity game engine. So it's a tower defense game. You play as the Zombie King. So just moving on. There's also in the game design practicum opportunity to build VR content. So this was a game called Chrysalis from last year, where you had to catch these butterflies and basically of different types, and then there's a lamp up as the butterflies are caught. You'll see in a sec. So you have a little tool where you can pick flowers, and it attracts the butterflies. So in these projects here, students are taking advantage of all the things they've learned in the other courses to build the content to create an interesting and novel experience. So that's that one. And then this was not only VR, but AR too. So here's an example of a student project that was similar to, it's using the Microsoft HoloLens, similar to Tilt Brush, if you know that. So here, students are able to create augmented reality content in the real world, and they can have a palette of paint brushes on their hand that they can use to create this in the real world. And the students obviously, can create the video content that goes along with it. All right, so that's just a little taste of some of the things that students work on in the program. So, okay, you spend a couple of years here. What happens afterwards? Where do you go? So there are a lot of companies out there that have hired our graduates. So in the animation industry, we have a lot of people at Pixar and Disney and DreamWorks. At some point, 10% of all the technical directors at DreamWorks were from Penn. Blue Sky Studios, Framestore, MPC, Blizzard. If you know, these are special effects companies, have a lot of our grads there. In the game industry, big game companies like Electronic Arts or Blizzard or Rockstar Games have CGGT students there, Sony PlayStation, Santa Monica Studio, Microsoft Game Studio, a lot of places. In China, we have a lot of people at Tencent and NetEase. And not necessarily just animation or games. Students go to work at companies like NVIDIA or Intel, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, people that are developing graphics related content. So that's a quick overview of the program. And I'm assuming some of you at least have some interest and questions. And Christina, I assume those are going to be at the end.
I did want to hold them off to the end. You could also utilize the chat feature because there are some CGGT specific questions as well as some praise for your cool presentation. So check it out.
All right. So take it away. I'm good here.
All right, great. Thank you, Dr. Lane. So we'll continue on with our presentation, and next we will go on to robotics and hear from Ani Hsieh.
Okay, so let me share my screen. Let's go and make sure I can.
And Dr. Lane, could you unshare yours?
Oh, I have to unshare. Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm Ani Hsieh. I am the Deputy Director of the GRASP Lab, or the General Robotics Automation Sensing and Perception Lab at the University of Pennsylvania. Just to give you guys some background, just to make sure my slides work. Okay, there we go. So the lab was founded in 1979 by Dr. Regina Bacci. So she is one of these pillars of the robotics field, and it's housed in the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences at the University of Pennsylvania. So of course, our mission is to create and integrate knowledge through scholarly research, entrepreneurship, and innovation. Now, some quick facts. We have about 19 primary faculty. Actually, I just got an updated number. Our affiliate faculty is going up. So our primary faculty is spread across 3 departments in the School of Engineering. We are in computer science, in computer and information sciences, electrical systems engineering, and mechanical engineering and applied mechanics. And we have roughly about 25 staff members. This includes administration support personnel, technical personnel in the machine shops, as well as postdocs and research scientists. And we have approximately 100 PhD students and about 160 plus Robo MSc students at any given point in time. I think this picture, I apologize, is a little bit out of date, and partly because we're in the process of rolling out a new website, which I was told should be online by this coming Monday. So hopefully some of this stuff, the information will be updated and will look much cooler starting next week. So on campus, the GRASP is actually quite a pretty big community. We host weekly seminars. We in fact have 2 series. The GRASP on Robotics, which you can actually watch and participate. These usually happen on Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And if you go to the GRASP website under events, you'll see the next. So we just have a great talk today. And then you'll be able to see the schedule. We also have a student, faculty, and industry series, and this usually happens on Wednesdays in the afternoon. And so this gives you a slightly different flavor, and oftentimes we have faculty, alums, as well as our collaborators in industry talking about robotics and robotics-related topics. And then in addition to that, so normally during normal times, not in the middle of the pandemic, we host annual industry days where we invite all our industrial sort of partners. We have a great sort of event, a workshop for the industry. We get to learn about all the cool stuff that they're doing. And then our industrial partners have an opportunity to meet with our students, learn about the work that we do at the lab, and oftentimes conduct formal as well as informal interviews of our students. In addition, we have social events, things, pretty common things like reading groups. We have our GRASP women's group, our weekly quizzos, barbecues, hackathons. We go to the Phillies baseball game when when we're not in the middle of a pandemic, and so on. A lot of our alums, they go on to academia, as well as many of them start their own companies. So these startups that I've listed here, many of them are hosted at this new Pennovation campus site, which is sort of our innovation center. And a lot of them go on to industry as well. So you'll see Waymo, Amazon Robotics, Neurus Autonomy, Zoox, Autel. Basically, these are sort of a lot of the names that we see in the news, and they, we span sort of small up to large size companies. Okay. Just to give you a quick introduction of our curriculum. So this is a 10 credit unit sort of for the degree. And we categorize the courses into sort of 3 different categories. We have our foundational courses, and there are actually 4 what we consider core areas, and these are in artificial intelligence, robot design and analysis, control and perception. And students are required to take 1 course from 3 of the 4 areas. So this is a way for you to be able to tailor, right, sort of the degree requirements to your interest. There are 5 technical electives, and these can span sort of all the various different departments in the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, and then sort of at least 2 general electives. So I'm just going to do a quick switch to see if, so here's a quick, for those of you who are interested, there are a lot more details. Instead of trying to reshare my screen, I'm just going to point you guys to this website down here. And this is sort of where the details are located, okay? And I'm happy to answer any questions after, and during the Q&A section. So in terms of research, we actually span just about every last area of robotics in regards to research. So here's a sort of non-exhaustive list. And in terms of application domain, if it flies, if it walks, if it swims, if it drives, if it tumbles, if it folds, we just about do all of those kinds of robotics. So if you look at this, we actually span over sort of very wide application domain. So we also are very active in K through 12 education and outreach. And in fact, it's not just the faculty, and the staff and the PhD students. A lot of these are also Robo-MSc students who are sort of actively engaging in this activity. So here, I just want to show you sort of, this is our video. I'm hoping that it plays. Oops, let's see. Make sure, see if this is going to play. If not, then, okay, so we'll skip it. So this is actually supposed to be a video about one of our sort of local area high school teacher who spent the summer doing research with our one of the faculty and one of our PhD students, and trying to teach a computer to learn how to dance effectively. And so this is our engagement, right, with our local community. Part of this is to sort of help the local area high school teachers and K through 12 teachers to be able to provide them sort of with material and tools that they can use, take back to their classrooms. So I know Christina mentioned this earlier. So GRASP, we actually are located in 2 separate locations. We have GRASP at Levine, and as well as GRASP at the new Pennovation campus. And so this is the main building. And so different research labs are located at different locations. My group is actually located on the Pennovation campus, partly because we focus on marine and aquatic robots, and the Pennovation campus actually gives us access to the Schuylkill River and allows us to actually do experiments on the river, which we are hoping to be able to get back to at the start of the summer. So here, and if this doesn't play, I will definitely take you guys to, I'm not quite sure why my videos are not playing today. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stop sharing, I'm gonna copy my, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna share it with on my browser. So let me do this real quickly so that I can give you guys a tour of the lab. And the reason why I want to show this to you, because it also shows you the various research opportunities. So research on campus, right? It's not just limited to students. Hold on one second. Let me make sure I am in fact sharing the right screen here. Okay, hold on one second. I think this sort of started playing without, there we go. Okay, so let me share my right screen here. And okay, I am going to mute this video. You guys can go and watch it and listen to our sort of outreach director give the overview. Hopefully can you still see my screen? Okay, the video. Okay. So this is our newly renovated main space in Levine, and it mostly houses sort of PhD student office space. This is oftentimes where our office hours, right, for the various robotics classes are located. It houses our robot manipulators. This is Levine 457. This is the room where some of our sort of more popular quad-rotor aerial swarm videos have been made. And it's equipped with Vicon cameras, motion capture systems, so we can do different kinds of experiments. So this is also a student project space, so depending on the class that you take. So oftentimes, so some of the courses will have experiments and labs in that space. This is our newly sort of lounge that came online. I think it was in the spring. So this is Dr. Michael Poza's lab. This is a DARE lab. That's a Cassie bipedal walking robot. And so students participate in research, both in terms of doing master's thesis, but also summer internships, as well as independent study. Or you can even participate as a temporary paid sort of student worker. That was Cindy Sung's lab. She does origami robots. This is Dr. Michelle Johnson's lab, and she does rehabilitation and medical robots. And so what you're seeing is sort of that, trying to do user studies, so with assisted mobility, as well as sort of developing robotic systems for various different types of medical settings. This is our outdoor flying area at the Pennovation Center. It is equipped with an outdoor motion capture system. And this is Perch, which is our main GRASP outfit out at the Pennovation campus. It's a combination of sort of office space as well as experimental space. So that big truss thing is that reconfigurable truss that is sort of work that is being done by Dr. Mark Yim's lab, where they work on modular and reconfigurable robots. So this entire space is also, again, equipped with a motion capture system. So we can fly, run our walking robots. So this is the walking robots. We can fly, we can drive ground vehicles, and be able to do experiments indoors as well as outdoors. And so again, this is just, so we have meeting space as well as student office space and then workbench space. So people who have to fix their robots, make repairs, those kinds of things. So these are our KUKA U-bots, and again, another view of the variable truss mechanism. And I think at some point, which I'm going to just fast forward this a little bit. So this is our machine shop facility. And so students who are involved in research or coursework oftentimes can get access to, depending on the type of projects that you're working on. And then just sort of give you a sense, just going to fast forward. This is my lab area. So as I mentioned, we do marine aquatic robots. And so what you're seeing here is our big indoor tank.
For the lab to sort of like pretty much deliver to the sponsors what they want.
Please do mute your microphone, David. David Yan, please mute. Sorry, Dr. Ani.
So that's okay. So this is just our indoor tank. And then we also have additional, so I'm not gonna, you guys can go online and then sort of watch the rest of that. But basically that's just an overview, sort of a very quick sort of whirlwind tour around the various facilities. And I'm happy to take questions sort of at the Q&A session, and I'll keep an eye on the chat window until then. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And so we have one more presentation coming from our Systems Engineering Department. I'd like to introduce Dr. Rakesh Vohra.
Thank you very much. Welcome to all of you. Let me be brief here. So what is systems engineering? It's about providing analytical methods to support decision-making. These analytical methods will rely on probability, mathematical optimization, and statistics. The kinds of industries where our students have gone on to, where they employ these methods are places like Lockheed, Amazon, Universal Studios in crowd management, and so on. The program admits somewhere between 50 to 60 students into each entering class. So approximately 100 students at any one time. Could you advance the slide, please, Christina? Lots of opportunities for research with faculty, also TA opportunities. There's a link there on this slide to the job bulletin board if you want to see what kinds of jobs are being posted. And of course, a subset of our students come to the master's program as a jumping off point to get a PhD in systems engineering or operations research or even robotics. And since we're already at 3:42, why don't I end here so that you can ask questions of all of us.
All right, great. Thank you for being so brief and cognizant of the time. So I know a lot of you had questions. I'm going to start with some of your admissions related questions. So for the three faculty who are present, feel free to unmute yourself and answer the question. But a lot of people are not coming into the graduate program straight from their undergraduate experience. So some people have gone on to get some professional experience, and they're wondering if your programs do require you to have career experience within your specific fields. And if you do have career experience, how does that affect your candidacy?
So I can just speak about my program. It definitely helps. What I'm looking for are people who are passionate about graphics and animation and games. And so having worked in industry in a related area is a great way to show that. But it's not a requirement that you work before you apply to the program, but it definitely fills out some of the details that give us a better understanding of who you are as an applicant.
I would echo that same sentiment in regards to Robo, right? I think it is not unusual for many of our undergraduate applicants, right, that are coming straight from undergrad, for them to have some kind of a internship experience, given how hot robotics is these days. It is definitely not required, but having industry experience, I think I personally had industry experience before going back to graduate school, and I don't see that as a negative at all.
So work experience is not required for the systems master's program, but it is welcomed, and let me be blunt, employers would also welcome it as well.
All right, great. So I'm going to just ask these last few questions that are listed here. If you have asked a question at the beginning of our session, feel free, if I didn't answer it, to type it in again so that I can make sure it's answered. So faculty, we have a question for Robo. What are the job prospects after completing the Robo's Master for an international student, since a lot of them require green card status?
So I actually have to say they're quite good. A lot of our international students, they move on and they, find jobs at the various big companies, right? The other thing I would also say is that, there's also startups. We have a lot of, we get people not just recruiting from industry, we have people from government labs recruiting. So there's actually a very wide range from established companies to startup companies. And so the requirements in regards to citizenship is very fluid and it changes. And so I think that, I've known a lot of my own students who actually have moved on, who are international students. So that is not, does not seem to be a significant factor.
All right, thank you. I want to address a question to Dr. Lane that was asked earlier regarding CGGT. It seems a lot of students who are interested in CGGT are also interested in computer and information science or computer and information technology. Is there any collaboration between the two departments in terms of requirements or research experiences?
Well, the CGGT program is in the computer science department. And so, the assumption is you were a computer science major as an undergrad or have taken significant amounts of computer science courses. If you have a non-technical undergraduate degree, though, there is a path in, like I mentioned, where you can do the first year in the MCIT program. And so for the students who fit that description, what they should do is apply to the CGGT program, and then I will forward their application to MCIT if I think that they would benefit from a first year in that program. And you can, in your application, say, my plan is to do a first year in the MCIT program, but send the applications to me first so I have an opportunity to review it.
Thank you, Dr. Lane.
Not to me personally, but apply to CGGT.
Yeah, your email is going to blow up now.
Yeah.
I would like to say we have a lot of ambitious people on this call. And so people are asking about applying to more than one program. And I just want to say, from the admissions perspective, you may submit an application to more than one program. Please be aware, though, that you will have to submit an application fee for each application form you submit. So just be aware of that. Okay, we have a next question, I guess, that all or any of the faculty can answer. How would an application fare with having top tier publication, but not having that much great GPA in undergraduate? I guess this is specifically for robotics, but could be answered generally. So do you value publication over GPA? What's the priority in evaluating applicants?
So I would say that we evaluate the applicant as a whole. So I'm sorry. Okay. Yes, I'm sorry. I have my 4-year-old here. Sorry about that. We sort of like to evaluate the applicant as a whole, right? So we do not look solely at one aspect or the other, and we're really looking at people who have, real passion and real interest in robotics and thinking about pursuing a career in the area. And so having publications is definitely a plus. But, this is something that, we really want to look at it in the context, right, of your personal statement, your letters, as well as your academic record.
And I would say the same thing. We look at the whole applicant, but project-based work, whether it be published or not, is really important. I like to see, what you can do, basically what your interests are and what you were able to accomplish. And a lot of times that's shown through project work. So if you have a website and, certainly include a link to things that you've done, doesn't have to be published. That doesn't necessarily tell me, you know, anything in the sense of there may be 10 people or 5 people on the publication and I don't really know what you did. But if you show project specific work that you did, then that's really helpful.
Are there any insights regarding systems engineering? What do you prioritize when you're looking at applicants?
Basically, we would like an applicant who we're going to be certain will succeed in the program. So a strong analytical and quantitative background would be ideal. And then, you know, if they express an interest in going on to get a PhD, then, you know, some evidence of interest in research would be useful.
Okay, great. Now we do have a lot of questions, but I will say because of the shortness of time, we cannot answer questions related to programs that are not discussed here. So I'm going to focus on this next question for Dr. Lane. Could you talk a bit about Penn's SIGGRAPH chapter? What are some previous chapters or workshops that have stood out?
So the SIGGRAPH chapter is, I think, one of the largest student chapters, and they have divided over the years into group of students interested in animation and the group that's interested in games. And a lot of times they'll critique demo reels. So if you're going to go out and look for a job, you want to basically have a demo reel. So you get some feedback there. Alumni are invited back for various presentations to help the students understand how their Penn experience can be used, you know, once they graduate. So it's a very active chapter, and it's really independent of the program itself. It's sort of it's a group of students that are very passionate about the area, and they've built a nice community, and most of the students at the undergrad and the master's level participate in it.
All right, great. I have a question from Trevor. This is directed towards Dr. Rakesh. He's seeking to transfer from an engineering management master's program to the systems engineering program here. And what kind of latitude do we have to incorporate some Wharton courses into our plan of study?
He's muted. Rakesh, you're muted.
Sorry, I'd answered Trevor directly, but for everyone else, the master's program is structured as follows. There's a base of required courses in optimization, probability, and data science that we expect students to take. And after that, they should be putting together a collection of courses that would represent some coherent application area. One of those coherent application areas is the mathematics of finance or financial engineering. And the students who choose to do that typically take between 2 to 3 courses in finance from Wharton. Now, just to give you a sense of the breadth of the application areas, there are students who choose bioinformatics, supply chain, even robotics is a possible application area as well.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to make a reminder, a lot of people have specific questions about updating their application. Unfortunately, if you've submitted an application, because of the sheer volume of applications we're receiving, my team is not able to go in and make changes to a submitted application. If there are things that have come to fruition that happen after you submitting your application and you think that they're really important while people consider your application, I would encourage you to send that information to the graduate coordinator for your intended program of study. All right. And then also there's questions regarding the wait list. Yes, there was a wait list for programs that had an application deadline of November 15th for early decision. We sent out a letter saying that people will remain on the wait list up until May. So you could receive a decision before May, or at the latest, you will receive a decision by May. I'm just trying to get through all of these questions because I think they're really important. Oh, I had a really great question in regards to the GRE option. So I will say that most of our graduate programs did take into consideration challenges in the administration of that exam. And so we have chosen to make the GRE optional for many of our programs. I will say though that 2 of the programs represented today, computer graphics and game technology, as well as robotics, require you to submit a GRE to be considered. So please keep that in mind if you're looking to apply to those 2 programs. All right, so I'm going to try to find one more question before we move forward, because in the interest of time, we have about 5 more minutes. Could you guys, faculty in general, could you speak to some of the opportunities available in relations to student getting involved with research, specifically at GRASP, if you're not a robo student, and then about any TA or RA opportunities available in your programs?
So I actually sort of have students from all kinds of MSc programs, join my lab. Part of this is because we have, we do interdisciplinary research, and a lot of the work that we do is in support of ocean sciences. And so I often take on MSc or even undergrad students from physics, math. I have electrical ESC MSc students, I have MEME MSc students, and I think this is true of, in addition to robo students. So this is true of a lot of the GRASP faculty. And so we evaluate students on a case-by-case basis, on a individual-by-individual basis based on their interest. And so I think, there's lots of ways to get involved through independent study, through sort of temporary work, as well as summer internships or thesis.
And in CGGT, many of our students, I would say most, have some type of summer internship, external summer internship. But we also have in the SIG lab summer interns that come in and work for the summer. So we sponsor internships internally. So that's good to know. Also, in terms of being a TA, usually that is something that doesn't happen until your 2nd year. So you've already taken a particular course and done well in it. And then, there's a good chance that you might be asked to be a TA for that course. And then there are other projects that, especially in graphics and games and animation, I'm always contacted about, do I have any students that would be interested in working on such and such a project? So there's these side projects that are opportunities for you too.
Well, there's a huge demand for TAs for data science and related courses. So you should not think that you have to only TA within the program that you are admitted to. And the second thing, a number of you asked about deferrals. The impact of deferrals is going to depend upon the size of the program. If it's a relatively small program, the number of deferrals is small, and you can expect some fraction of them to melt. So my own view is that for small programs, the deferrals is unlikely to have a huge effect on admissions decisions. However, for larger programs, that will be a problem.
And
also, I think, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, with regards to deferrals, my plan was to notify people who have deferred and have them make a decision before we make final decisions for the incoming class, to make it fair to everybody.
So one thing I was going to say, there was also a lot of questions about online for hybrid versus in-person classes in the fall. I'm not, I don't know if Christina, you want to try and answer that, because this is something that is not, this is above our pay grade.
It is certainly above my pay grade. This is something that's made at the president's level and the president's council. So I will say, I know a lot of people are eager to be on campus. I mean, a lot of people choose to come to Penn because of, I showed you some of the beautiful pictures of our campus, but also the physical resources available in terms of libraries and laboratories and centers. And so we would love to have you on campus. We cannot say at this moment if we'll be fully operational in terms of on campus instruction in fall 2021, but that's something that's definitely being reviewed now. And we expect that we should receive a decision sometime in the summer. So I don't want to make promises to you now. I know this session is recorded, but I would ask that you continue to stay in contact with us, subscribe to our graduate admissions channel, because we often provide updated information there. We also have social media platforms that you can follow, and I'll share with you shortly. But I'll just ask faculty, is there anything else you think you'd like to share with these group of people who have either started an application or have already submitted an application to one of your programs?
I look forward to reviewing the applications. That's where we are.
Completed.
Yeah.
Yes, we are very excited to see your applications. And I have to say that, there was a question about how things were going with the online. I have to say that, I think we have the faculty, the TAs, and the students have all made a sort of extraordinary effort. And I think, even under these very challenging circumstances, I think overall everyone has been having a positive experience.
Thank you for that, for participating in this program. I do have some final concluding statements that I'd like to make. So if you have, a lot of people had questions in the chat specifically about the submission of their application and how to update their application. Please refer these questions to these individuals below. These are the team I work with. So Sherry, Abby, and Christine. They work with the specific programs listed here. So for example, if you're interested in computer graphics and game technology, you should email Sherry at this email address. If you are interested, for example, in systems engineering, you should email Abby at this address here. And if you're interested in robotics, you should email Christine at this address here. These individuals can answer any questions you have about the actual application process. And I will say, if you're waiting for a decision, these programs have a decision deadline or application deadline of February 1. We hope to get out decisions anywhere between mid-March up until May. So because we're reviewing so many applications, please be patient with us as we take time to thoroughly review all of your profiles. If you have program related questions, so you have questions about what courses should I take, or you have questions about which courses can I take outside of the program, or if you have questions about RA and TA opportunities, anything like that, those are program related questions, please direct them to the graduate coordinators listed here. So Ridian has computer graphics and game technology, Colleen has robotics, and Liz has systems engineering. So please email them directly about your program specific questions. And you can find that information on the link I've been sharing for admissions contacts. And so finally, this information is a scholarship available specifically to underrepresented minorities. And we're thinking of underrepresented minorities by ethnicity who are US citizens or permanent residents. If you think that you qualify for this scholarship based on the information listed here, there's nothing you need to do. That's what's great about this scholarship. You don't have to submit an additional application. Once you apply to one of our master's programs and it's determined that you meet these qualifications, faculty, if they accept you into their program, will automatically nominate you for the chance to win $15,000 towards your tuition. So I just wanted to make that available to people who might be thinking about, well, what funding is available? We typically do not promise funding to our master's students, but this is one thing that we're really proud to offer this year. And so just in conclusion, thank you for being with us. I'm Christina Burton. You'll hear from me again for sure for those of you who are interested in the webinars for our other master's programs. Until then, take care of yourself and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you all for being here.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.